Welcome to the Voice Over Now podcast. I'm your host, D. Foster III, CEO and president of Wake Up Global Networks. Do we have a guest? Do we have a show? Listen, you know the spill. You know it. I don't have to tell you, but I'm going to tell you anyway. Make sure you like, make sure you subscribe, make sure you follow. Listen, we're trying to build Wake Up Global TV. We're giving you the best content. And so I need your help. It ain't costing you nothing to hit the like button. And what does hitting the like button do? A lot of people say, hit the like, hit the like. What does hitting the like button do? Well, the world is run by algorithms, right? So when you hit the like, it tells the algorithms that, oh, this content, people like it. Let me help get it out. Let me help get it out. So I need you to hit the like every time you come on this network, Wake Up Global TV, whether it's the Voice Over Now podcast, whether it is the Voice of Hope Connection, whether it is the Awakening Experience, get to the algorithms and say, push this out, so more people can hear this material and evolve and change and become who they were meant to be. I want to say thank you for all of our followers. Thank you for those of you who are consistent. I hope you've been enjoying this Women of Power series during the month. Now, before I bring up our special guest for today, I want you to do a few things. Have you seen the Voice of Hope Connection by V? Every Sunday morning, there's a live upload at 7 a.m. Now, of course, you can watch the replay. You can watch the replay. But if you're up and you're looking for some information, maybe some encouragement, maybe some whatever V gives, you can do it every Sunday morning live, 7 a.m. right here on Wake Up Global TV. Also, every second Sunday live on Wake Up Global TV is the Awakening Experience. It's not called that for nothing. We're right smack dab in a series. We are here to grow. We are here to grow. And then finally, Patreon. If you're looking for in-depth, now everybody's talking about centers now, but I did a few Patreons about centers 3 to 4 months ago and talked about the spiritual ramifications and how that what we saw in that movie was indicative of our ancestors and how our worship had been robbed from us. You got to go on to Patreon. I think I did 3 parts in Patreon. The thing I love about Patreon and our Patreon lit Patreon members is I get into content in my Patreon. It doesn't have to be censored. I don't have to worry about YouTube or the algorithm censoring it. I can straight, no chaser, talk real stuff. I reveal my life in Patreon. I talk about my experiences. So you want to think about being a Patreon member. And then finally, I said finally, but this is finally, you want to be a part of the Life Alive Bible study. Now, don't let that word throw you. Y'all know ain't nothing traditional, but I know most people understand what a Bible study is. Right? Every Thursday, right here on Wake Up Global TV. It's all happening on Wake Up Global. Now, can I be honest? I need y'all to help build this channel. We've been, and I want to shout out to April J. April J has carried us on WPB Media for the 3 years we've been Wake Up. We were launched on WPB Media Networks. We had a platform on WPB Media Networks, and April J was gracious enough to give us a voice on WPB Media Networks. I told her about a year ago when we were talking, one of my visions is that Wake Up Global Network will have their own network, their media platform. She said, "Sure, Bishop, whatever I can do to help you, I'll do it." Did. And now we're like babies walking on our own with our own social media, our own platforms. And I just need y'all to help me. Help me get these numbers up. Yeah, that's right. I need y'all to help me get the word out. I need y'all to press. That's what I need you to do. All right. After all of that is said, like, share, subscribe, and you won't be disappointed. All right. So today, still National Women's Month. We've been talking to women of power. That's our theme And we've been basically focusing in on how our guests arrived at the place they are today. Successful, powerful, transformative, and how they went through what they went through and overcame in the hopes, those of y'all that are viewing, that are going through similar situations, some inspiration, hope, you'll get some encouragement from our guests. Our guest is not a guest. They are no stranger to the Wake Up Global Network's platform. They are a member of our Wake Up Global tribe, one of the most supportive members in every faction that I can think of that we have. She is a gift, and I don't want to sound religious, but she is a gift to many, including me in my spiritual work, but in my personal life. You know, I often say that there are just certain people that the Spirit puts into your life because Spirit knows your destiny, what you're called to do, where you're called to go. And the Spirit will know the help or the assistance or the encouragement that we need to get there. And this woman has been all of that plus in my life and even the life of my family. It is my great honor and privilege to her grow. I've seen her expand. I've seen her get courage, seen her step out on faith. I've seen her walk on the water. I've seen her do miracles. My. I've seen her do miracles. I feel, y'all feel that like I feel. I've, I, I've seen her do miracles. I've seen her raise up businesses. I've seen her take care of her family. I've seen her do it all. And so I am honored today to have a conversation this National Women's Month with none other than Dr. Nonprofit Veronica Tucker Scott. Welcome, woman of power.
Wow, I felt that in my shana now.
Oh, welcome. No, but hey, everything I said is true, and I believe everything I said, and none of it was an embellishment. See, this is what I'm not going to do. Not that you or anybody going anywhere anytime soon. One of the things I'm not going to get at nobody's homegoing, funeral, whatever you call them that day, and be holding up the line, trying to say all these nice things, all these good things, getting people tired and bored when you could have said those things about those people when you saw them every day. So one of the commitments that I have is I'm going to tell people how they feel, how I feel about them now. So if I don't make the service, ain't nothing missed. I said already. I mean, I said everything I need to say, but I meant that. How
I
are you?
love that.
How you doing?
I am wonderful. I love that. Look, anything you got to say to me, I don't need 25, 30, 40 cars following talking about she was a good person. Just that now. See, after that. Oh, so tell me now. And I appreciate that. And thank you for having me here.
Thank you for taking the time to be here. You know, you're my sister. You are just fit so many places in our life, in our spiritual work, what we're called to do. And I just want to say how much I appreciate you and your family and your support. And sometimes I can get redundant with gratitude. But again, I believe you have to hear people say it. I will always be grateful. You and your family, and especially your husband, took so great care of my mom during her final days here on earth when I could not be there. And so those kind of things, never forget. I never care if I'm redundant because I think that gratitude, where does it stop? It doesn't. So I'm always grateful. And to have you and your family to adopt me and we become family. Here today because this is Women's History Month, and the theme is women of power. And what we've been doing all month long is focusing in on women, and in particular women of color who have kind of come up through the ranks and have uh, pushed against the odds because they used to say, you are a black woman, you have two strikes against you, you're black. I don't believe now, and you're a woman, and you can fall victim to that, but I don't believe you have to. Take us back, right? I mean, you own, first of all, before I get to that, give us a little what you do, name of your businesses, and how can you be reached? Because that's going to be key to my leading statement.
I am a mental health therapist. I am also a pastoral counselor, and my business is Metanoia Mental Health. Metanoia. Why do you use metanoia? Well, what is metanoia? Metanoia means to change one's mindset. So, in mental health, I want to work with people to change their mindset. And so that's henceforth how I got the name. I can be reached at 443 312 9818. That is my business phone number. My email is a long one. It is metanoia mental health 52 at gmail.com. So yeah, it is kind of long. And people can find me actually on the IFS website because I am a certified IFS therapist, level 3 trained, and I'm an assistant trainer. So yeah, I'm
Wow.
oh
So
yeah.
it's an understatement to say that you are a woman of accomplishment. You own your own business. You attended college and graduated. You are certified in IFS. But take us back before we get there. What was growing up like for you? And in doing so, did you ever believe that you would accomplish all that you have accomplished in your life? What was it like coming up as Veronica?
Not at all. I didn't believe I would accomplish any of this. Growing up, I can honestly say I grew up very fearful. I never saw anybody in my family graduate from college or even go to college. Um, I mean, now I will say I have seen some strong Black women. My grandmother, who carried a lot of fear, but of course she came from the silent generation. She was born in 1917, and she was very fearful. But my grandmother worked and she always made sure we had. I didn't ever think we were poor because we had stuff. We had things, we had what was needed, but I never thought that I would be anything other than mediocre. Um,
And why
growing
is
up,
that? What prompted you? Was there experience? Were there words spoken? What
oh,
was the cradle of you feeling that you could never achieve your current status?
well, growing up, okay, we learned from our parents. And whatever our parents were taught as children, this is how they raise us. My dad grew up on punishment rewards. If you were good, you got rewards. If you
Mm-hmm.
didn't measure up, you got punished.
Mm-hmm. I know about that.
So my father's life was harsh. It was harsh for him, and he didn't understand real love. That's really why he married my mother and why he loved my mother's family, because he said that was love. They showed love. But My dad, when I would do things, I mean, he would tell me how smart I was because I told him at 2 years old, Alka-Seltzer had acetylsalic acid, but I couldn't say pot.
And where'd you learn that from? Where'd you get that from? Where'd you?
It's came on TV. Alka-Seltzer had acetylsalic acid. Remember things, talk to adults. As a child, there were no other children in the house. I conversed with adults, and adults enjoyed talking to me. And they used to tell me how smart I was. But every time I do something wrong, my father would say that was dumb. Well, that translated to me as you are dumb, dummy, dumb. And then my parents, they were forced to get married. They were kids. They were babies when I was born. My mom was a baby when I was born. She was forced to marry my dad. I mean, they were young love as teenagers, but when you're 19 years old or you're 15 and getting married and your husband is going to be 18, these are kids. And they were children. They didn't know. And so my dad, when I did something wrong, he would say, dumb. They didn't last. They split up when I was about, I would say 11 or 12. But however, while they were together, it was chaotic because they were two people that were doing this. And so it was always, even though there was love, and my mother loved and she did everything, and my dad did too. I'm not going to say that they were bad, but
Mhm.
what I will say is they were so busy trying to navigate their own life. They just made sure I had the basics. And growing as I grew up, I began to overeat because of that was how I comforted myself. There was chaos. My mom and dad were splitting up. My mother had to work, so we had to stay with a neighbor so that she could work. And that's when I started overeating. And that is when the real problems began. Because being you and in the 60s, it's not fashionable to be fat. Wiggy was the norm. And I was fat and all my friends were small, which means that I was developing quickly. And sometimes grown men didn't look in my face. They looked at my body.
Mm.
And then they would say things. So there was a lot of shame. So I made myself really small. I didn't think I could achieve. Because if I was good as my friends were, men wouldn't say stuff like what they said to me. They wouldn't say things that hurt my feelings or make me feel uncomfortable. So, you know, if that was happening to me, how could I be anything but what I was?
Right, right, right. Um, what was there a defining event or did it happen over a period of time? What was the moment that you realized that I can do these things? Was there an epiphany? Was there an event? Because obviously you've accomplished so much as a woman of power that something had to change. What marked that change where you said, you know what? I'm going to be the first to graduate. I'm going to open up my business. I'm going to do this. What walk us through what that looked like?
Okay, so fast forward, I became a corrections officer and it was an easy job. Corrections is mentally, but it was an easy job. You go to work, you count the people, and I figured, you know what? Hey, I make pretty good money. I'll just stick around and stay here. But people were coming in and out of jail, and I wanted to know why. Why do you keep coming back? This is your fourth time. And it's not been a year. What's wrong? Something's wrong there. And I started talking to a friend of mine, and I liked playing the victim because I had some hard things happen to me in my life. I was sexually assaulted and abused. A lot of things happened to me that shaped my thought process about who I was. But this friend of mine, whom I love, told me one day as I was telling my story, my victim story for the 50th time. She said, I already know the whole story. She said, I know what they did to you. I know what happened to you. She said, why don't you just go back to school and get an AA degree? If you get an AA degree, I'll at least give you a job. Well, that pissed me off. Dare you talk to me like that? Uh, go back and get an AA degree. So it started out as I'm gonna prove her wrong, and I went back and got a BA degree. While I was getting a BA degree, I didn't go back to school because I thought I was stupid. No, I had ADHD. We can talk about that when I was growing up. I know the reason that I was all over the place was because ADHD. And I went back and I got that degree, but one of my professors, whom I love with all my heart, said, you need to get a master's degree. And I looked at her like she had lost her mind. No master's degree. I had already accomplished what nobody in my family accomplished. I got a bachelor's degree. I'm the first person. I am the first person in my family to graduate from college. Me. Me.
Woman of power. That's a woman of
And
power. Now, let me ask you this before you can. Did you go back? And I have to ask this to because you wanted to prove you the first one to those who didn't think you would amount to anything, or did you really take on the challenge of your co-worker? What was that stimulus going back?
this,
Because believe me, when you've been out or never been, especially when you reach a certain age and time, it's not the easiest thing to go back and get a degree. And I admire people. I saw a story of the other day, lady 80 just got her doctorate degree. I mean, that's something to be admired. What was your real stimulus in saying, I'm gonna do this?
because my friend told me I couldn't.
No, no, that's
And I
real.
was
That's real. That's real.
pissed off with her because how dare you tell me what I can't do? And I went back, I was scared. But when I stepped into that classroom and I started listening to some of the people talk, I was like, smart enough to go back to school. I never thought I was smart enough. I thought I would go back and people would laugh at me. But I went back to school in my late 40s, in my late.
Wow.
And I felt like going back to school so late. I mean, that why didn't I go? I compared myself. Why didn't I go back when I was younger? And when people would, that were when I was younger and my friends were going to college, I made jokes because I didn't think I was smart enough. I didn't think I was smart enough to go back to school. So I didn't. But the lady, when I graduated with my BA, there was a woman that was 74 years old. She graduated too.
Wow. 74.
74.
Wow. And this speaks to, and you know this better than I because this is your field. This speaks to the handprint that we can put on children without even knowing it, even if it's innocent.
Mm-hmm.
The blank piece of paper.
Mm-hmm.
So you were in that environment where you said, we're told that's, and so you don't know how to balance that as a child. Not that the thing you did was dumb, but I'm running with the narrative that I'm dumb because
That's it.
that's the way it came out. So that whole self doubt, that whole because now you're into something called self doubt, produces low self esteem, and so now
Mm.
I'm settling in life, and I don't know, and I don't need to know who your friend was, but I thank God for your friend giving you that challenge because again, it forced you out of that comfort zone of just being on that hamster wheel that's so comfortable and easy for anybody, especially a victim, to stay on.
Oh my gosh. That victim mentality. See, being the
It's hard for
victim,
me to believe you ever had that, though. I mean, to,
oh
to
my
know
gosh,
you,
yes.
you're so confident, you're so self-aware and self-assured. I mean, some people I can tell, yeah, that's a victim. They love playing the victim. But I'm this is something that I'm learning new because you never even gave off the remnant, and I know you've probably worked through it. But just knowing you, it's hard for me to believe. As hard as you are on everybody, it's just hard for no a good heart, a good heart. Let me clarify that. Not a judgment, pushing people forward, pushing them out of their comfort level, that kind of heart. It's hard for me to believe you ever had that victim mentality. Seriously.
Oh my gosh, I was such a victim. Everybody
Wow.
did everything to me. Things didn't happen for me, they happened to me. And I internalized and I took the pen and I began to write the story. And the story always ended up with what they did to me and how I held on to that victim status and how I was never going to let it go because if I let it go, you got away with something. And I wasn't going to let you get away with something. But what I realized is when you did what you did to me, got away with it then. And all I was doing to keep you on the hook was holding myself on the hook. Because if I'm gonna keep you on the hook, something's got to keep you on the hook, so it's got to be me. So with I'm gonna say with therapy, with me actually being able to sit with myself and having good friendships, because that good friend and I, we are that's my bestie. We when I that's my bestie, and she encouraged me. And then I mean, I've had people peppered in that encouraged me along the way. I never thought I would be a licensed clinical professional counselor ever, much less than having my own business. Now, I will say this to people my age, honey, listen to some of the younger people because they will influence you. A very young lady, Gianna, said, Mom, you got money in your 401k. Why don't you take some of that out and start your business? I said, well, I can't start my business. He said, but you investing in you. You're investing in you. So why don't you, Ma? And she was like, I said, but I got to do the articles of incorporation and I have to do this. And that. He said, Ma, I can help you with that. We can get online. Everything is online. You don't have to pay exorbitant amounts of money to get this done. And by being able to step back and allow someone younger than me to help me is how I ended up starting Metanoia Mental Health in 2020 when everybody's businesses were going through. Mental health started going through the roof because people had to sit with themselves.
Oh, let's jump back and then we're going to go forward.
Okay.
What inspired you to get into mental health out of all the fields? Because
Mm,
you mentioned that you worked inside of the prison system.
mm-hmm.
So, how did that evolve into you saying, I want to be a counselor? I want to be a therapist. Walk us through how you got to that point.
I'm gonna go back to my bestie. My bestie said, "You know, you were created to be a counselor. That's why people come to you." Okay. So that was the one. But as a corrections officer, like I said, I kept seeing the cycle. So I first I looked at the cycle and it was a lot about substance abuse. So my bachelor's degree was in human services, substance abuse, concentration in substance abuse. Okay. So I got my licensure as a substance abuse counselor. But as being a substance abuse counselor and listening to the stories, I realized that substance abuse People were just self-medicating
Mhm.
because they didn't feel good in their own skin. So that's why we keep relapsing. I don't feel good in my own skin, and I'm only dealing with the outside problem. So what I realized is people were cutting down the tree because the tree was big and it had a lot of branches and stuff was falling off, and it was so we cut down the tree, but we didn't deal with the roots. So what
Mm.
happened is the tree starts growing on both sides and it comes back up, and you wondering why the tree's still here, but I'm not dealing with the roots. See, substance abuse is dealing with substance abuse is not the problem. Problem is me. Something's going on in me. Not the substance just says once I use the substance, I'm numb now. I
Mhm.
don't feel that no more. So what's deeper is something under the substance abuse. And I wanted to understand that. And that is what drew me into first, it was pastoral counseling because I wanted people to understand and not see God as a box, but
Mhm.
open it up and understand. But with pastoral counseling, which is a beautiful thing, I can't diagnose and treat, so what I had to do is get the mental health. So I had to get I had to get an MS. I have an MA as I have an MA as a chaplain, but I also have an MS in the mental health field. So what my professor told me is, hey, you can pray with them while you're diagnosing them. So
And I often say that's what I love about your practice. You have the spiritual element, you also have the clinical element. And I think personally, both are important. I know a lot of quote unquote religious people rely on the spiritual element and it has its place. But I think that working with a practitioner very, very vital for the clinical. And that's why I've always, among many reasons, appreciated how you took the time. So you fight through low self-esteem as a child, being overweight, going into the correctional facility.
can I say
Um,
something? I fought through it as an adult. That low self-worth did not, it started as a child, but it carried over to adulthood. And I found myself being a people pleaser, and especially in the church, wanting to please not only God, but wanting to please the pastor, wanting to please the membership, wanting to be, I became a people pleaser. So that low self-esteem wasn't just childhood. And a lot of people won't deal with that, but I'm willing to say I kept it all the way up through my adulthood, and it influenced so many of my decisions.
did you know you were a people pleaser at the time, or you just thought that was the thing to do, keep the peace? Or did you have an awareness? I got a
No,
problem. I don't want to make people upset.
I knew it was something wrong with that, not wanting to make people upset, but I didn't understand the extent of it. I didn't understand that it came from abandonment. I didn't understand that it came from, guess what? Because if I make you happy, you won't leave me.
Wow. Wow.
You won't leave me if I make you happy. If I do everything you want me to do, you won't leave me. That's not true. But that's what I thought.
And so even as an adult, you were still fighting through this low self-esteem, this being
Yes.
being a people pleaser. So I have to ask another question
Hmm.
because I think these are key points. How did you work through that? Um, Again, on this level, was there a defining moment? Was there uh, something that happened? How did you decide that's not the road I'm taking more? Just don't give a damn what people think, you know. And excuse me, the reason I'm sensitive to that is
I love it.
because for some people that comes easy, right? But for the greater number of people. If you're listening, I really want you to key in because it's pivotal. Veronica is going to share. It is a roadblock, a stumbling block. It's just a very few of us who feel like I could care less. And I think that's innate and may go along with logical sign. It may go along with, whether you had somebody to defend, but the greater populace is, I, 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 I don't want to make them mad for whatever
Mm-hmm.
reason. What was it that, because I believe people are listening that are still dealing with that. And I think what
Mm.
you can share can help them. How did you get and overcome that? Because that's not always the easiest thing to overcome in life, caring what people think.
Mm-hmm. It's a part. Okay, I overcame that when I got to graduate school. I did not. It did not when I came out of got my bachelor's degree. I was still people pleasing. I was still people pleasing, and still knowing that. Wait a minute, people still know how to tell me no, but I don't know how to tell them no.
Mm,
People know how to tell me no, and they are with it. No, I ain't gonna be able to do that, and they okay. Me, if I say no, then I have this part of me that says, "Oh, you should be able to help them," and now they're gonna be mad, and now you got to go. So now, all right, I'll do it. It wasn't until we had to go to, in order to become a therapist, you have to take therapy. So I went through therapy, and I ended up with an IFS therapist, internal family systems, who told me, "You got a family on the inside of you, just like you do on the outside of you." And I was like, "What?" She was like, "You talk to yourself?" I said, "Yeah." She said, "All the time?" I said, "Mm-hmm, have a whole committee meet." She said, "Those are parts." There was a part of me that was holding on to the abandonment, feeling like my father abandoned, but not understanding because it was young. So all it knew is that daddy left. And daddy left because I probably pissed him off because I was always doing something wrong.
mm,
And so if I would have done better, daddy wouldn't have left. But being able to see that part of me sit with that little girl who thought that people left her because she wasn't good enough. And let's not forget grandmoms and all of the other ancestors that say, don't make them white people mad. You got to be twice as good.
mm-hmm,
You got to be. So what you told me is I'm only half as good. So now I got to work real hard. And there's a part of me that don't want to work hard. There's a part of me that's like, I don't want to do it.
right, 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 right.
Because and we all have those parts. And so when I was able to get with those parts of me and actually sit with them and hear their stories because they were stuck. She was stuck. She was like, "Well, if daddy don't like me, nobody's gonna like me. So I gotta work really hard to make people like me." So I became good at schmoozing people
Mm,
because I wanted them to like me. But I didn't like schmoozing people. I didn't like it. It felt inauthentic. But once I was able to sit with that part of me and talk to her and let her know, regardless to what they thought, I loved her. It's about reparenting. It's about going back in and letting these parts of us, letting them know how much we care for them and then integrating them because my parts didn't trust me. And our parts don't trust us because they're working out of where they had to become extreme as little kids. Just think, I didn't have any brothers. My sister was mouthy. Every time I turned around, I was going to try to have to get her out of something. So I had a part that became extreme and I already have masculine energy. I'm an Aries. I never understood why people saw in me things I never saw. I have had people at various times say, "You're a leader. You're a leader." you're supposed to lead. I didn't understand why every project we had in school, I ended up being the spokesperson. And I'm like, don't they see me? Don't they know I don't know what I'm? Why are they asking me? Why do people ask me to be a part of a committee? Because I never saw that. I never saw me. I never saw what people saw in me. And so I became that one that let me just do it afraid. And that's what I've been doing. I've been doing it afraid. You know, we ain't have no men in our house. My father had left, and my father left. I had to, I fixed everything,
Hmm.
made sure stuff was okay, was the protector of the family. I stepped in and I became that family hero. And I'm gonna tell you something, those that cape is heavy as hell. It's heavy.
So, having said that, have you let go of that? And the reason I'm asking, I know that you are married. So how did that having to step in and be the head and be the protector and be the provider, how did that translate into now as a married woman? I've got to relinquish some of that. And I'm asking on a general census because this is a common issue in our community, especially the way that our households have functioned and dysfunction.
Mhm.
And was it you? What did you say? Whew, good. I can release that. I ain't got to worry about that no more. I'm married. Or was it a little tug of war for a while? You can take
You
us there.
said a little tug of war? No, that was a big road. That wasn't no little tug of war because it's hard to relinquish control when you have been in control all of your life. It's hard to relinquish that. It takes a lot of vulnerability. It takes a lot of hard conversations, and it really takes a lot of making what I call a U turn, making that U turn. When my husband says something to me that makes me, the first thing I got to think about is why did it touch me the way it touched me? Am I seeing my husband or am I seeing something that has happened in my childhood that's triggering me? Because I can get triggered. Because remember, I've been in control all my life. My mother, when something happens, the first person she called? Me. I don't care what it is. She's gonna call me. I'm that if anything happens in the family, call your aunt, call your mother, call your sister. They're gonna call me. They are all gonna call me. And so I'm used to being in control and in charge. And you gotta think, I had 30 years of correctional experience. I worked with men. I'm used to telling men what to do. I'm just being transparent.
Yeah,
I
and
am
that's what we
used
want. Oh, yes.
to telling men what to do. I'm used to it. I did it for 30 years. Come over here. Put your hands left over right. Pull that chain. Step on the van. Get down. We go into court. Medical passes. I'm used to telling men what to do. And so it took me, first of all, trusting, because I don't trust men. I'm going to just put it out there. Because all of the men that have been in my life have been takers, not givers. So I learned not to trust men because they leave. They leave. So now I must admit, my husband is the first man that I've ever trusted with anything. I can go out of town. I just came back from a 7-day training in Costa Rica. My husband was home. Not once did I think, is he with a woman? Is somebody in the house? And stuff like that. I don't think about because I can truly trust this man with my heart. Now, however, I have to learn to trust him with other things because I'm that. No, I got the finances. No, I got this. No, I can take care of that. No, I can do this. My husband told me, I got the trash. You don't have to take that out. So I'm learning and having hard conversations, not only with my husband, but with myself, and actually slowing down using my biggest my biggest resource, which is before I open this pie hole that can say a lot of things that's
I,
very
I,
hurtful.
I need to interview your husband because I'm sure he got a story. Having to,
You
um,
don't want to talk to him.
I'm gonna get with your husband and see if he'll give me an interview on the other side of how it was to marry somebody to be. But no, I appreciate. Listen, that's what this show is all about: transparency, and we don't want it no other way. This is why I wanted you on, and I want to say I appreciate you being transparent and opening up so much about how a woman of power got to that point. I'm very leery about successful people that never have a backstory. I always say, especially when you come on our show, don't come on here with the success story without telling us how you got there. And that's what I'm an advocate of. And I do the same thing myself. With 10 minutes left, and we're going to have to do another part of this because your story, we've talked a lot, you've been on this platform a lot, but I don't believe we've ever talked to the extent about your upbringing and what you had to work through. And it is very powerful. And I know those that are listening. So I need you to share this. I need you to share it. I need you to share it with people that you know need to hear this. And we all know people. We need to hear it. So I want you to share this link with your tribe, with your crew, because what Veronica is talking is authentic, it's real, and it's hitting the spot. Let me ask you this with our few minutes left of this show. Where does a woman's power lie? When you say women of power, and I know the obvious, the average person will go spiritual on me and say, God, okay, I got it. I don't need to be informed because but as a woman and having the miraculous story that you've had and all you've worked through, and the first to go to school and first to graduate and to get your degree, and then to open up your own, to take a bold step to open up your own business and leave a system, and you depend on you for your income. Where does a woman's power lie? Where does it come from? I mean, we talk about the strength of men, but it is a known fact, especially when it involves her children. A woman's strength is 3 times of a man. A woman can pick up a car if necessary to get it off of her child. But where does a woman's, in your opinion, her greatest strength come from?
My greatest strength comes from understanding control is an illusion.
Wow. If I had the horn, I would hit it.
I've
Say
been
that.
trying to control my life and everybody else's life for the last over 50 years, and I have finally realized control is an illusion. When I realized control was an illusion and wisdom and intuition come from the seat of consciousness, and I will say where God lies in us, when I started listening to the seat of consciousness and stopped listening to, oh, well, we can reason this out, or well, I can control this. When I started to let it flow, when I started to let it flow, The only thing I realize I can control is me.
That
And that took the weight off my shoulders. And that's where my power lies. When I stopped controlling everything, when I stopped trying to control my husband, when I stopped trying to control outcomes, when I stopped trying to control my kids, because most of the time we control people because we want us to look good. When my kids was messing up, I wanted to control them because if I didn't control them, I wasn't a good mother. But you can't control a human being.
mm, and I'm gonna leave that. Ain't nothing I can say to that. Where a woman's power lie, you ain't nothing I can say. I'm like the Bible says, I can't add nothing to it. I ain't gonna take nothing away. Is it? I'm gonna leave that right there. That was powerful. Y'all hit the replay, the rewind, and hear that. To see the consciousness, the garden, y'all need we need that. As we turn the corner to wrap this up in this section, what advice, what counsel would you give to your 30-year-old, 25-year-old self that you may not have known then, but you know today? Talk to your 25, 30-year-olds and let
I
us
would
peep in
tell,
on the conversation.
I would tell my 25 and my 35-year-old self that the bull that you think is important right now, it really isn't. It's not important. And that you have already been all right. You just don't know it. Because every 10 years we change. I am not the person I was at 25. I am not the person was at 35. I'm not even the person I was at 55 because we shift and we change. And if we allow the flow, because we have a life force, the life force you can see because my shirt's moving because I'm in it. But if I take this shirt off, the life force is not in the shirt. But life is a flow. And if I just allow it to flow, if I allow it to flow and I move when I need to move, then I'm not going to say that everything is going to be perfect, but you will be able to manage it.
You know what, Veronica Tucker Scott, and I hope you don't take offense at this. You've been on my platform many times, but this one, you knocked out of the park. The other ones were excellent and great, but this interview, or I like to say, conversation, has been life changing, and I think our viewers will agree on so many levels. And all I can say is thank you for your transparency, your willingness. And maybe this is what I'm sensing that we've never done to this level because we've always talked about your career, your business, therapy, how important it is. But today, you applied all of that to your life. And I want to say thank you, thank you, thank you for coming on this platform and making yourself vulnerable to help those.
Wow.
Because
And I
so
just
many
want,
things that you spoke about, I identified with in my childhood. Though I am a male, to similar, work through similar things. So I just want to say thank you for a fantastic conversation on the Voice of News.
thank you. And I just want to say to all them women out there, all of the women, straighten each other's crown. This is not a competition. We're not competing with one another. You are beautiful just as you are. And what you bring to the table is important. You don't have to compare yourself to any other woman because you are a force to be reckoned with all by yourself.
That's another statement. I ain't got nothing to say. I ain't gonna add to that, or I ain't gonna take nothing away from it. I'm gonna leave that right there because that's powerful all in itself. Veronica Tucker Scott, I want to say thank you. Don't forget, if you are in need of someone to talk to, if you're in need of a counselor, a therapist, I highly recommend. Um, I am so blessed. We didn't get a chance to talk a lot about her business because this was not the show for that, but Metanoia takes different insurances. So I know that a lot of people don't see counseling or therapy, whatever, because of that. But check her out. You will be surprised. Things have changed. So, again, if you want to contact her, I know she said it before, but just for the latecomer, how can you be reached? And if people want to contact your business, please give that information out.
So I can be reached by 443-312-9818. That's Metanoia Mental Health or Metanoia Mental Health, Metanoia Mental Health 52 at gmail.com. I do have limited openings right now. I do take Blue Cross Blue Shield, I take Medicaid, and a few other insurances.
Great, great, great. Also, she is the proud host of the Voice of Hope Connection. And that upload, as I mentioned, is on this channel, Wake Up Global TV, a live one each and every Sunday morning. Be quickly tell the folks what they're going to get when they chime in, because I'm expecting that your followers and those to press like are going to increase. What do we expect when we look at the Voice of Hope Connection on Sunday morning?
You can expect anything. I talk about everything. I talk about self care. I talk about forgiveness. I even talk about Ubuntu. Ubuntu is, it says, I see you and you see me, or I am well if you are well. Man, we just talk about a lot of stuff. I mix it up. It's funny. I am who I am. And sometimes because I do have ADHD, I say the same thing next week that I said I was going to say next week, but I'll say something good. So come on and check me out.
Check her out. You will not regret it. I'm telling y'all, right here, Wake Up Global TV, Wake Up Global TV. You can get more information. Go to our website, www.wakeupglobalnetworks.com. We're getting ready to add another one. Every piece of me matters with Cindy. I'm telling you,
Yes.
this is the place you want to be for relevant content. If you're looking for other stuff, you got to go. But if you want relevant, like you heard today, Wake Up Global TV. B, I want to say again, thank you for your time. Thank you for your energy. Thank you for your transparency. This show is life changing. So thank you so much. It won't be the last time. Matter of fact, I need to bring you in here and get you hosting a few of these so that when you get ready to kick off yours, USB. Yes, man. You should leave that there and add nothing to it or take nothing.
I ain't adding nothing to it. I'm going to leave that one right where it is.
All right. On the behalf of Wake Up Global Networks and all of our staff, this is D Foster 3 reminding you that you have a voice. Keep lifting it. Until next week,